Transforming division. What do we mean by division? Division is often found within groups, within communities, and within the strata, the layers, the hierarchies that appear within groups. It's also found in relationships, of course, and ultimately it's found within each of us as an individual. Places where we're divided, like for instance, what our heart wants and what our mind wants, or what our mind expects. And those can lead to division. And ultimately, all outer division is an expression of something internal. And, you know, in order to transform division, we have to find, our inner guide. We have to drop deep into the inner wisdom that lies inside us. So we have to go into a kind of quiet place at times. We have to go into a place where we can separate ourselves out from the division. We take a pause. We go out. We leave the environment, and then we connect with that voice inside us that knows, that can see clearly, and then we come back in with an insight that can be of help. The greatest way in which the world causes division for itself is the way in which we see each other and the way in which we talk about each other. Right? So one of the ways in which division propagates itself is through gossip, is through slander, is through the way we talk about people when they're not there, behind their back. You know, humans love to do that. We love to kind of complain about someone, you know, whether it's a prime minister or a government so we complain about them, or someone that's annoyed us, or someone we don't really like or trust or believe in, or someone we see as false, and perhaps they are false and inauthentic and all those things, you know, because the world is full of plenty of frauds and charlatans and, you know, villains, and we love to kind of talk about them. And yet, every time we do that, we sow the seeds of division deeper. So really think about how you talk about others, you know, when they're not there. Because what you're doing is you're propagating division. You're propagating corruption. You're reinforcing those things. So that's the first thing. The second thing is how we think about them. You know, how we think about others. You know, because if you talk about someone in a certain way, it's because you think about them in a certain way. And you've been conditioned to think about them in a certain way. And there may be good reason to think about them in that way. However, there's always more to the story. So when you next think about someone you don't trust or you don't believe in, or who seems false or cruel or unkind or any of those things, consider them in a wider capacity. Consider them as a child. You know, consider what must have happened to them as a child in order for them to be behaving in that way. Really, you know, use your imagination perhaps to like conjure up what kind of childhood they might have had and what might have happened to them that they never told anyone, that no one's ever found out, that leads to that behavior. When you can do this, you'll see another side to them, and you'll realize that actually there's a virtue somewhere inside them. There's something great. You know, just as there's a shiny side, there's a shadow. And there are two sides in life, in everyone. In you, in me, in all of us. You know that. You know what your darkest, deepest secrets are. You know about the things that you've done that haven't been so kind, right? So we're all in it together. So if you can see both sides of a being, then you have a balanced view of that being. And then you can be realistic. But it means you may change the way you think about them, and you may change the way you talk about them. You know, you may see things differently. And that's a real perspective shift for us, because what it does is it begins to open up a compassionate worldview. And it just feels better. You know, it doesn't, you know, when you've spoken negatively about someone, there's a dirty feeling inside. You may not notice it, but it kind of ripples out into your day, and it may come back to you the following night in your dreams, and you may actually wake up the next day or 2 days later not feeling good. And something negative might even happen to you, but you probably won't make the connection, because there's always a connection. When we put the energy out, it comes back. It's just that we don't make the connections. You can watch this in your own life, you know. So division is something we sow. And what we have to come to is this realization of virtue. Like, we all have this virtue inside us. It doesn't mean we have to go out being squeaky clean, but it means the way we see others has to be balanced between light and dark, between, you know, those two sides, so that we hold an equanimous view towards others and towards ourselves. And then we can kind of lean towards the light side, you know, without kind of concealing the shadow. You know, so even someone dark and sinister and difficult and challenging, it's better to think about their positive attributes, their virtues, and talk about their virtues than it is to talk about their vices. And if you have to talk about their vices, do it in a kind way, in an understanding and compassionate way, whether to them or about them, and balance it with the positive, with what you see that's great in them, or could be great, or could have been great, you know, or might be great, because everyone deserves the benefit of the doubt. Don't you deserve the benefit of the doubt? You know, if you did something terrible, wouldn't you want a second chance, or a third chance, or a fourth chance? Same with them, you know. So when you go out into your world, think about these things. Think carefully about how you see others, and open up your view of them. Start to let your heart feel into them as well as your mind. And then you will find that you have a balanced view, and you'll find that you're coming out of the virtue in your soul, but without negating the truth. You know, because the truth is the truth. But the virtue is also underneath every lump of coal hides perhaps a shiny diamond. That's what we have to look for if we're going to one day kind of transform the division in our souls, in our relationships, in our society. So it's an old adage, see the best in someone.